Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're going to dive into the world of Novo Nordisk.
Ooh, exciting.
They are a global healthcare company that you've definitely heard of.
Yeah.
And they specialize in treatments for diabetes and obesity.
Right.
So we have their Q3 2024 earnings call transcript.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yes, so it's hot off the press. So we're going to try to unpack their business model a little bit
Okay.
and look at what challenges they have ahead and what analysts are asking.
I love it.
So,
Let's jump in.
yeah, you ready to jump in?
I am.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So to get us started, I think it's worth noting that Novo Nordisk has been making headlines lately
Yeah, for sure.
because their GLP-1 drugs like, Ozempic
Oh, yeah.
and Wegovy
Yeah.
are in such high demand.
Yeah, they're super popular. It's very interesting.
Yeah, they've actually tripled the number of patients that they're treating with these medications
Wow.
in just the last 3 years.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, it's incredible growth.
Yeah.
But it also leads to some interesting questions about the sustainability of their business model.
Totally.
It's mind-blowing to think that they're supplying treatments to nearly 2/3 of all the patients
Yeah.
using GLP-1 drugs for diabetes and obesity.
It's a huge percentage.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility and a lot of potential.
Definitely. Yeah. But, that kind of success definitely comes with its own set of challenges, right?
Oh, for sure.
So, one of the things that analysts were really focusing on during the earnings call was this issue of supply constraints.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Because the demand for Ozempic and Wegovy,
Right.
it's huge, but it's led to these shortages.
Makes sense.
And that's obviously something that Novo Nordisk is trying to address.
Right.
Pretty urgently.
Yeah, I bet drug shortages are never good news.
Never, never.
And I imagine investors are kind of wondering
For sure.
how Novo Nordisk is going to be able to ramp up production
Yeah.
without compromising on quality or safety.
Totally. And the analysts really pressed them on this.
I bet they did.
Because there are also these concerns about compounded drugs.
Right.
Which are basically, customized versions of these medications that don't always go through that same rigorous
Right.
FDA approval process.
Yeah. Compounded drugs can be risky.
Yeah.
I know some people are turning to them just out of desperation
Yeah, absolutely.
because of the shortages.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that analysts would be concerned about that.
Yeah, definitely.
From
Definitely.
both a safety and business perspective.
For sure. For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And getting back to that business model,
Right.
Novo Nordisk did actually give us a little hint
Okay.
about their growth outlook for 2025.
Oh, interesting.
So they're not giving specifics until February of next year.
Okay.
But their CFO did mention possible high teens sales growth. And that number kind of takes into account
Yeah.
continued expansion.
Right.
But it also adjusts for those one-time benefits that they saw in 2024.
So continued growth, but maybe not at quite the same breakneck pace.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It sounds like the analysts are really trying to figure out
Right.
what that means long term
Right.
for the viability of their business model.
For sure. For sure.
And a lot of questions also revolved around those supply chain issues
Right.
and how those will impact investor confidence.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And they also talked about the growing competition
Oh, right.
because there are other companies that are working on similar drugs,
Oh, interesting.
which could potentially impact Novo Nordisk's dominance,
Totally. Yeah, that's a good point. What about regulatory changes?
Oh, yeah.
Could those affect their growth in 2025?
Oh, for sure. Regulatory changes
Yeah.
are a huge wild card
Okay.
because, governments and healthcare agencies are always
Right.
evaluating drug pricing
Yeah.
and reimbursement policies.
Right.
So any shifts in those areas could directly impact
Yeah.
Novo Nordisk's profitability.
Yeah. It's a tricky situation. On the one hand, these drugs are innovative and life-changing
Yeah.
for so many people. But then on the other hand, they are expensive.
Yeah.
And, affordability is a big concern.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on pharmaceutical companies,
Yeah.
to balance innovation with affordability.
Right. Right.
And we haven't even talked about
right.
the potential for pricing pressure from competitors.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So if another company develops a similar drug,
Right.
but at a lower price point,
Yeah.
that could force Novo Nordisk to
Right.
adjust their pricing strategy.
Makes sense. It sounds like Novo Nordisk is facing a lot of external pressures.
Yeah, definitely.
But they're not just sitting around waiting to see what happens.
Right.
They're also investing in their research and development
Yeah.
pipeline. And they have some really exciting projects in the works.
Oh, for sure. They've had some really promising results with Semaglutide,
Okay.
which is the active ingredient in Ozempic and Wegovy. And what's interesting is that they're finding it has benefits
Yeah.
beyond just diabetes and weight loss.
Oh, tell me more. What other applications are they exploring?
Well, like, for example, their Essence trial
Okay.
showed positive phase 3 results for semaglutide in treating NASH, which is a serious fatty liver disease.
Oh, wow.
So this is like a huge potential market for them,
Yeah.
and it shows their commitment to like expanding beyond their current core areas.
Wow, that's a big deal. It sounds like they're really building a strong foundation for the future.
Definitely. And they're also really focused on like improving the patient experience.
Okay.
So they're investing in new technologies like a potential once monthly
Interesting.
formulation of semaglutide,
Oh, wow.
which would be like a total game changer
I can imagine.
in terms of convenience.
Right. Taking a medication once a month instead of weekly
Yeah.
would be so much easier for patients.
Way easier.
It's smart of Novo Nordisk to focus on that. Convenience and user-friendliness. It shows they're thinking about the bigger picture.
Exactly. And then there's the Catalent acquisition.
Right. The Catalent acquisition. That was big news. Remind me, what exactly does Catalent do?
So Catalent's a leading contract development and manufacturing organization, or CDMO.
Yeah.
So basically, they help other pharmaceutical companies develop and manufacture their drugs.
So why is Novo Nordisk so interested in them?
Well, remember all those supply chain issues we talked about?
Right. Yeah.
So this acquisition could be a key part of the solution.
Okay.
Because by like bringing Catalent's expertise and their manufacturing capabilities in-house, Novo Nordisk is hoping to increase their production capacity and get like more control over their supply chain.
It's like they're vertically integrating.
Right.
It's a bold move, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
They're taking control of like a really critical part of their business.
For sure. But, you know, with a big acquisition like that, there are obviously risks involved.
Of course.
Yeah.
What are some of those risks?
Well, it's like integrating two large companies is a complex process. Like there's potential for cultural clashes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, you know, unforeseen challenges.
Right. It'll be interesting to see how Novo Nordisk manages the integration.
Yeah.
And how they maximize the benefits of that
for sure
acquisition.
Yeah, it sounds like the next few years are going to be critical for Novo Nordisk.
It does, yeah. They have a lot of opportunities,
Yeah.
but also a lot of challenges to navigate.
Definitely. And as they grow and expand into new markets, they're going to face increasing scrutiny and pressure to address like ethical considerations.
For sure.
Especially around pricing and accessibility of their medications.
That's a really important point. As their reach expands, so does their responsibility.
Totally.
They're developing treatments that could like potentially improve the lives of millions of people.
Absolutely.
So it's vital that these treatments are available to everyone who needs them.
Yeah.
Not just those who can afford them.
I completely agree. Balancing innovation, affordability, and ethical considerations is going to be essential for their long-term success.
Yeah, it is a tricky situation.
Right.
They're leading the way in developing these incredible medications.
Yeah.
But the cost is a real barrier for a lot of people.
It is.
How do you see this playing out?
Well, I think it's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's going to be increasing pressure on companies like Novo Nordisk to try to figure out how to make these treatments more accessible, whether that's through, you know, like pricing adjustments or, you know, partnering with governments or some kind of like innovative payment models. Someone has to give.
Right. And it's not just about access either.
Right.
There are ethical considerations too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Around how these medications are marketed and distributed.
Absolutely.
Like, for example, some people are worried about the potential for these drugs to be used for purely cosmetic weight loss.
Right.
Rather than addressing, you know, serious health concerns.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Right.
It's important to remember that, you know, these medications are powerful tools.
Right.
And they need to be used responsibly.
For sure.
Like, we need to have, you know, these open and honest conversations about the benefits and the risks and make sure that they're being, you know, prescribed appropriately.
It sounds like Novo Nordisk is at kind of a pivotal moment in its history.
For sure.
They're riding high on the success of these groundbreaking medications.
Right.
But they're also facing some serious challenges.
Yeah.
And questions about their long-term strategy.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how they navigate all those challenges and how they balance, you know, that need for growth with their responsibility to patients, investors, and society as a whole.
Well, this has been a really eye-opening deep dive.
It has.
Into the world of Novo Nordisk.
For sure.
We've explored their incredible growth, the challenges that they're facing, and the exciting possibilities that lie ahead.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to uncover about this company and like the impact they're having on the world.
If you're as intrigued by Novo Nordisk's story as we are, we encourage you to kind of do your own research. Explore the many resources that are available online.
Absolutely.
And be sure to let us know your thoughts. What stood out to you? What questions do you still have?
Join the conversation in the comments below. We love hearing from our listeners.
And of course, if you enjoyed this deep dive,
Yes.
make sure to hit that subscribe button.
Right.
And the notification bell so you don't miss out on our future episodes.
We've got some great topics lined up.
We do. We do. Stay curious, and we'll see you next time.